Hi, I'm Suzanne Castle, and this is the Thought Leader Thursday. I'm here today introducing you to another incredible leader, thinker, doer, and all-around amazing human who's going to help each of us think about our world a little bit differently than anyone else. From artists to teachers, from actors to moms, from the big names to the you didn't know about them till now names, my hope is that you will connect with a leader who helps you light up in your corner of this galaxy. This is the Thought Leader Thursday show. Hi, welcome back to the Thought Leader Thursday. My name is Suzanne Castle, and in just a few moments, you are going to meet the Dynamo Megan. That's all I'm going to tell you. That's your hint on who is with us today. And I cannot wait. She leads amazing women to change their lives every single day, including mine. And I can't wait for you to learn more. But before we hear from Megan, I want to know, I'm going to throw it over to Andrew. Tell me about work-life balance. Is that a thing for you?
It should be a little bit more than it is right now, but we're working there. It's a little bit of a double-edged sword, in my opinion. Like, you can't make progress in where you want to be without having a little bit less work-life balance, but you also need to spend a little bit more time for yourself as well. So we'll see.
Yes. Well, our guest today is going to share a whole lot about that. Megan Bozzuto is the president of the International Association of Women. I call them IAW. This is what they do. They're a networking platform, but not in the way that you think, because they connect women who are like-minded, who are leaders, who are managers, who are changing the world, and they have programming and events and content and just generally lifting us up out of the muckety mire that we tend to find ourselves in. And in her role at IAW, she's really shepherded a whole new way of doing the networking thing. So here's what Megan does. She oversees all, and I mean all, of the operations. So she's not just a pretty face, she's a beautiful brain on top of it, which includes sales and support and marketing and programming, all the local chapters, of which I am delighted to be the president of one. And she's done all this after 10 years of working in finance roles. And so what she did is she then said, I got to change the way that I'm doing things. So she changed into marketing, and then she found her passion for digital platforms. Before anybody thought that that was a really big need, Megan saw it as a need. And so she began to invest a lot of energy and build awareness and connect people. And so she started running her own marketing and consulting company for a bunch of years that were supporting small businesses in her local area. And then she started the transition back to which I know and love her for, which was the corporate positions. And she joined IAW in 2018. She does all of this from the Boston area while being a mom, being a wife, and showing up for people like me every day. Megan, holy moly, thank you for being here with us and sharing some of your goodness today.
I'm happy to be here. Thanks, Suzanne.
So here's the deal. You have been finding and collecting souls for a long time. You love networking people, hearing stories, sharing stories, and it really has proven to be a lifeline during these wacky pandemic days that we are living in, that I keep waiting for them to be over, but I don't know that it's just ever going to be over. And you saw that happening early on, not just pandemic, that the people were going to need to be changing and shifting into this virtual world and space. So when you started your marketing business, you were telling me that you credit your network with feeding you the highest quality leads, and that helped you look at this world and this landscape a little bit differently than other people. So could you start today by kind of offering some tips on how we can utilize networks in that way to find connections in this bananas time we're living in?
Yeah, I think so. When I think about networking and kind of my early interactions with networking, my husband and I lived overseas for 5 years. We spent 2 years in China and 3 years in Dubai. And when I was there, I was not working in a professional capacity. I was supporting my parents' small business at home. I was building my marketing skills there. That's where it all started.
Wow.
But I was meeting people and interacting with people and building relationships. I wasn't really networking for a reason. I was building relationships.
Right.
And so when I came home and started my own company, I would find myself like, I didn't go to traditional networking events. I joined the PTO. I went to Mom's Night Out. I went to the Newcomers Club. Like, I went to places where like people like me were hanging out. And through natural conversations, it became, oh, what do you do? Oh, where are you from? Tell me your story. And that first of all, when you tell anyone that you've lived in Dubai and Shanghai for 5 years, you get this reaction of like, what?
Yeah. Why would you do
that? That starts a really good conversation and builds up some of that, like, this is who I am. I love the idea of connecting and learning new people and seeing new places. And so when I think about networking, I think about it in building relationships. So I remember somebody coming to me and saying, my friend has this need for a website and I think a blog, and I think you might be able to help. And I said, yep, I'll have a conversation with her.
Wow.
And before we even talked about having an agreement, I gave her knowledge. I gave her,
right.
If I was in your shoes, this is what I would do. And from there, she said, well, can you do it for me? Well, of course, right?
Yes.
So it's not necessarily about, okay, well, Suzanne, you're now in my network. What can you do for me?
Right.
It's a mutual arrangement, and we give to each other. And in the end, there might be something that comes out of it with a business relationship. But I always go into it thinking, how can I serve you? What can I do for you? Because I love making lasting impressions on other people.
Right.
For me, like it fills me up to be able to provide value to other people. So why not?
Right. Well, and I think you're embodying to everyone watching your genius that I have found in all of my interactions with you over the last year and a half, almost 2 years now, is, for me anyway, you're always flexible when I talk to you. You just have you really embody peace to me. I have come to you with some really stressful situations with our chapter or just my own world, and you are just zen, whether you're trying to do that or not. And I know I have appreciated that, and I think it allows that kind of natural connection to emerge because people feel safe when they're talking to you and they know that you're on their side. And that's very different than I'm trying to slip in my business card in 15 seconds so I can move on and talk to the next person.
Yeah. And that's something that I wouldn't say that I intentionally like put myself out there that way, but it gives me comfort in that's who I am, right? If you ask my family, I am not all 100% peaceful and calm all the time. There's a lot of crazy that lives behind the computer screen, right? But when I interact with other people, that's what I want them to walk away with. I want them to feel like they've been appreciated, they've been respected, they feel like they can confide in me, right, and that we can have a relationship.
Well, and I know that you have really done a lot of work with that because, for women and other people, but women leaders, the pandemic caused this really big disruption. I mean, cataclysmic, earthquake, tsunami, trying to figure out, okay, I got a mom, I got a business, or I still got to show up, but oh my gosh, I got a little, and how do we make all this work? And really, it caused a lot of us to rethink how we are doing our work world and our life world, and how we wanted to now maybe shift or change a little bit. And a lot of people have had to pivot, which is what you did years ago. Before you had to, you just did it. For whatever reason, your inkling, your internal compass said do this. So why did you do that change? I would love to know a little bit more about that why. And then how do you suggest for people watching, if they're feeling that kind of, I call it that soul itch. It's kind of like sandpaper's rubbing over your soul. You need to make a change. You're not really sure you're ready. So what would you say to people that might be in that space?
So the reason it happened for me, so I graduated with an accounting degree. I started my career in accounting and finance roles. I worked for large companies. It was great. I was good at what I did. I got to travel the world because I was in audit positions, and it was fun, but I wasn't passionate about it. I didn't feel like I was helping the company, but I wasn't directly impacting individual people.
Right.
And like, at the end of the day, I was like, is this all that's there for me? Like, there were ways to move up in positions, but like, it just didn't feed my soul. And so then my husband was offered a job in Shanghai. I was working in Manhattan at the time. We had just found out I was pregnant with my first daughter. I hadn't even told my boss yet. And my husband calls me and says, hey, so I said that you probably wouldn't go for this, but what do you feel? How would you feel about 2 years in China as an assignment? He worked for IBM at the time. This was part of his career plan. And I was like, well, does that mean I can take 2 years off work and have this baby and figure out mom life? Sure. Okay, let's go. And like, wow. It was as simple as that. Like, we didn't have any long conversation. It was just like, okay, yeah, let's do it. And I worked until right before Angela was born. He started the assignment early, so it was going to be 18 months. And I was like, okay, I can I can just put my career on pause. Well, 18 months turned into 5 years overseas. And so now my career has been like paused 5 years worth. We move home to Connecticut. I get pregnant again. So I'm not racing back to work because we're having another child. And we had our second daughter was born when we lived in Dubai. But so it was like I was struggling with this idea of I'm not racing back because I didn't love what I was doing. And
Right.
I don't see how I can go back to traveling and working 60-hour weeks and having an hour commute and having 3 small kids and a husband who's also very career driven. So marketing was something that I had helped my parents with when I lived overseas. I really enjoyed the technology piece of it. I really enjoyed the connection piece of it. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to dive in. And I just educated myself. I took online classes. I volunteered locally so that I could get some experience.
Yeah.
And it just fell into place. It was something that I really loved doing. And I went for small businesses because then it's more of a one-to-one
Right.
relationship. I think that for anyone that's thinking about pivoting or thinking like, okay, this isn't working, where do I go next? Look at what you're good at. Look at what makes you feel really good, really powerful about what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And is there a way you can monetize that, whether it's as a consultant or possibly even volunteer and get some experience under
Right.
your belt, right? People are always looking for volunteers, and it's a great way to test drive your skills. Continuing education is one thing, right? You can go back to school, you can take online courses, you can figure out how to get to a point where you can then pivot completely.
Right.
Not that it's that easy, but it's definitely possible.
Well, I think what you're showing is that, that integrating your work with your life and your joy and your passion and what lights you up, and, oh yeah, we still got to have money because we're not a completely barter society, that's where the great intersection lies. And while I know work-life balance chit chat, is all the rage and people pay a lot of money to have somebody figure out their work-life balance, I think what you have done is you have modeled by intentional decision making, which is the key to be intentional and not reactive. You're showing that you can have a work and a life that you love. And I think that is some of the joy that you bring as the president of this huge organization of the International Association for Women. You value women leaders. You're the mom of 3 kids. You're an incredible wife. You are running this company. You are doing all the things. And I know that your life is not easy and that it is chaos at times. So talk to us a little bit about your balance, and maybe if you could give us one nugget on how people watching could structure their lives a little differently.
Yeah. So with balance, it's interesting. In January, I actually made the decision to go full time. I was part-time as a consultant for years with IAW. I guess it was before January that I went full time, but it was January, February that I stepped into this president role. And I said to my husband, this is going to change this schedule. This doesn't give me as much flexibility as I had before. So we have to be really intentional about the schedule and the planning because I'm stepping into a very full-time, all-encompassing role. And I know while he's working from home now, that's not permanent.
Right.
And so he's home, there's some flexibility, but the minute he's back in the office, we lose all of that.
Right.
And I call, like, if I'm flexible, he's completely inflexible with schedules. So I think the sort of the structuring your day and planning it out, having your idea of a perfect day and trying to model that when you can. So looking at what are your priorities for the perfect day. For me, my mornings with my kids are super important to me. So that what that means is from about 7 a.m. until 9 a.m., I am with my kids. I'm getting them up. I'm getting them breakfast. I'm getting them off to school. Our elementary school doesn't start until 9 a.m. So sometimes I'm online at 6 a.m. sending out some emails or updating some reports so that when my team comes in at 8 a.m., they're not like, well, where's Megan? Where's all of our stuff? I think also making sure that your perfect day carves out time for what you need for yourself. I'm the perfect example of, like, the minute my day goes crazy, exercise falls off. That is the first thing that I will give up in my day. So I've started waking up earlier and trying to fit it in early morning, because I know if I do it before the crazy begins, it's not going to fall off.
Right.
Yeah. So, but it's really, I think, the idea of having what is your perfect day, and trying to hold true to that, because I don't think that balance really, for some people it's possible, and some days I have balance, but I find it's a lot more about integration. And sometimes I take calls from my car while my daughter's at soccer practice, because that's what the schedule allows for today.
Right.
But I pencil that in on my calendar. Like, I know where I'm going to be and what I need to cover and what kind of calls I can take in the car.
Right.
So
I think that's great. And I really would like for you, in our last couple of minutes together, to really share about what International Association of Women is trying to do. And for those of you watching that are not a lady boss kind, but that have a company that want to support all those lady leader, girl boss types in the world, there's a lot of opportunities there on how you can help women rise up in leadership. So would you talk to us just a brief minute or two, and then how to connect further with IAW?
Yep. So IAW is a membership organization. We provide networking events, programming, content, a lot of resources for women as an individual member. We are looking to grow our corporate partners. So looking at supporting companies who believe and celebrate and encourage diversity, and how we can work together to spotlight them and showcase them, and possibly even come into an organization and help deliver some benefit related to programming and resources for professional women. So if you have a diversity initiative already, we can support that. If you don't have one, we can help build something. We can help to help get that started, and do that through the existing programs and events that we have.
It's so great. So we're going to drop in underneath this right now in the show notes how you can connect with Megan, the International Association of Women, all of her goodness in the world. You should see what they're doing. I'm a testimony to the greatness that they have poured into me, to the people that I follow, the people I love, and literally thank you for lifting up and allowing women to dream and to rise and to succeed and to lead in the world. It truly is extraordinary. So we end every show, Megan, with your own definition of what it means to sparkle. So lay it on us.
All right. So what it means to sparkle, I think, is the idea that when you are doing something at work or at home or in your life that fills you with that joy, that makes you, it's the opposite of what you're feeling when you're not in peace at work, right? That sandpaper gritty feeling. It's when you do something and it just lights you up from the inside, and you can be passionate about it and feel really proud of it. That to me is sparkle.
I love that so much. Okay, you have been such, like I said at the beginning, a dynamo, and you are. And I appreciate you giving us time and insight and leadership tips on how to do our work, life, everything. Wishing you all the goodness in the world. Thank you for your time and your energy. Thank you for being here for this Thought Leader Thursday. And we will check you in a few Thursdays for our next episode.